Welcome back. We're still with Professor PLO Lumumba, and the question here is, BBI seems to have rocked things and things are falling apart. If so to say, DP has already said somebody here is trying to block me. And the narrative of dynasties, Professor, is it true?
Let me first of all say that political contest is not a cakewalk. It is not a walk in the park. And history has demonstrated that not only in Kenya, in different parts of the world. There will be contests, there will be accusations and counter-accusations. If you remember the history of this country in the 1960s, you'll remember before Kadu was swallowed by Kanu, the shenanigans that were between President Kenyatta at that time, Thomas Joseph Mboya at that time within Kanu, Masinda Muliro, Ronald Gideon Ngala, Daniel Arap Moi. You remember all those. These were contestations. You remember they changed the constitution group who were told were desirous of ensuring that President Daniel Moi did not ascend to power in the event that President Kenyatta passed on, and indeed he ultimately. So these accusations and counter-accusations don't worry me at all. It is part of the political process. And those who are political players, I'm certain, know that that is part of the game. And I'm one who is not worried about dynasties or whatever it is. People don't choose where they are going to be born, and they have a right. Every Kenyan, regardless of where they were born or who their fathers were, have a right to contest whatever political office that is available. And Kenyans are sufficiently discerning. I think that Kenyans now are beginning to ask the question, going forward, which is the team, not the individual? You know, there is a danger in Africa, and it's only an African problem. The belief by some people and the belief by some leaders that you must have a leader in the mold of Moses of old, with divine instruction, going to latter-day pharaohs and telling Pharaoh, let my people go, and holding a rod and a staff in his hand, and striking rocks that water may come out for people to consume, summoning manna to come from heaven, and parting the Red Sea. That kind of leadership is incompatible with the democratic dispensation. What people need are individuals who form a team that is capable of husbanding the resources of the nation in such a manner that their health issues will be addressed, that their education issues will be addressed, that their natural and human resources will be harnessed, that they will be able to take advantage of the fourth industrial revolution, that they have an agenda that will lead the country forward. I'm saying that that is what the people need. And if the current political crop are not aware of that, I am of the view that come the year 2022, they'll be shocked how the Kenyans will vote. They must remember that there is a crop of Kenyans who will be voting for the first time in 2022. And they are not going to vote leaders who suffer from the Jehovah complex, who think that they are God's gift to the country. They are going to vote in men and women who are servants, who are servant leaders, who know that the office of the president or the office of the vice president or a minister or a member of parliament or an MCA is an office of honor and privilege, whose holders must serve people and serve them well.
Prof, because of time, is BBI Baba's bus to 2022?
You never know. I hold the view that the BBI was a product of a rapprochement or an agreement between President Kenyatta and Honorable Raila Odinga to pacify the country in the post-election environment. As to whether the project is now a Trojan horse which is being used by Honorable Odinga to go into public office in the year 2022, I do not know. But if it is, the question is, that is the nature of politics. Politics is the art of the possible. People use the most innocent of things for their own personal interest. And that has been the case in many countries. It is the duty of Kenyans to say, this particular agenda was for national benefit, and we are not going to allow anybody, whether it is Honorable Odinga, whether it is Honorable Ruto, whether it is Honorable Mudavadi, whether it is Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka or Wetangula or other political players who have not come into the open to use what is in the national interest for short-term political gains. Once again, and I'm repeating this, democracy not only requires but demands that the people must be eternally vigilant. Once we are vigilant, you don't have to worry about the shenanigans of politicians. Remember, and this has been said many times, is not original to me, that your typical dyed-in-the-wool politician looks to the next election and what they'll achieve in that election. Statesmen look to the next generation. My view to my fellow countrymen, let us look at the men and women who have offered themselves, and they have been there for a long time, these individuals, and ask ourselves, are these politicians looking to the next election, or are these statesmen looking to the next generation?
Prof, as the president, who in his second term beginning Hours set some agendas, the big four, for its legacy, sacrifice the same for BBI?
First of all, I prefer to refer to governments. We talk about them as governments, but the Uhuru Kenyatta administration has set up certain things that it wants to be remembered for, which are described as the Big Four. Mm-hmm. The Big Four are not new. They are actually distilled from Vision 2030.
As well, back to Kenyatta's administration, themselves.
And because we are talking about the life of a nation, what President Kenyatta's administration is or seeks to do in the area of education, in the area of health, in the area of housing, in the area of the blue economy, will not be concluded during his tenure in office. Whoever takes office, whichever administration takes over, will have to continue those. And I hear President Kenyatta saying that the BBI is the glue that brings together all these initiatives. If that be the case, history will be the judge. The jury is out. I see demands for a referendum. The eating of the pudding will demonstrate to us whether the BBI was simply Panadol, which is intended to cure cancer, or whether it was the right chemical constituting sufficient chemicals and medication for economic, social, and political chemotherapy.
Prof, but the economy is ailing already.
The economy will ail. Let's be open about it. And the economy is going to ail for a number of reasons. First of all, because of the global reality. With coronavirus now, I believe, without being an expert in economy, is that all countries are going to be in economic recession. Number two, we have a government that is top heavy in consumption and production. And we have seen quite a number of companies folding up in the recent past. And you only have to look at the newspapers and the number of defaulters in in the banks, in loans, and know that the economy is not doing well. And I think if I project into the future, the next 5 years are not going to be easy. They are not going to be easy for the farmer. They are not going to be easy for the tourism industry. Look at the tourism industry now with coronavirus. It's going to take us a year to recover, and yet that is a major foreign exchange earner. So it is not going to be easy. It is not easy to be in administration at this time, because the economy is not going to perform well. So it is incumbent upon this administration, working with other Kenyans of goodwill, to ensure that we take measures that are designed to cushion us from the pains that we are going to suffer as a country as we go through these painful economic times.
Amidst all this, Professor, where is the learned friend community, the lawyers, the advocates like you?
We are there, serving and doing our best. Let's look at the country in the manner in which it should be looked at. Everybody has to play his part as an individual. The professions have to play their part as individuals, or as profession. Julius Nyerere, whom I admire much, when he was the president of Tanzania in the early 1960s, used to say, "It can be done, play your part." You know, the Law Society of Kenya is a society that has always been in the forefront of the struggle for justice. But people misunderstand the Law Society. There was a Law Society which was relevant in the run-up to the political party, to the multi-party politics. You don't expect the Law Society to behave in the same way that it did when Kenya was a one-party state. No. Times have changed, and a law society will be a law society that still plays its statutory role of being a watchdog to ensure that the government does the right thing, but also a law society that engages creatively with the current administration for the purpose of delivery of justice. But the same question could also be asked of architects. It could be asked of pharmacists. It could be asked of doctors. It could be asked of business people. So all of us have a role to play in this regard. And what we ought to do is to carry our own weight, so that the country is the richer because we were there.
But Prof, even though times changes and things change, and yes, it may be true that the LSK of 1990s and today may not be the same. Do you think the current LSK has done its part well?
You know, there is something that I keep on saying, that in many African countries, including Kenya, we love drama. And we want things to be dramatized. But I've long learned, perhaps as I grow older, and hopefully I'm growing wiser. Yes, as I grow older and wiser, I believe, when you are engaging with governments, any government, you've got to choose two ways. And allow me to be spiritual about it. In the Bible, there are two approaches to issue. The one is the way of John the Baptist, who, upon seeing Herodias having an illicit liaison with his brother's wife, he went into the agora and shouted, "Behold, you adulterer." That is one way. When you do that, Herod will take you and cut your head. Salome will demand your head, and you die. But there is another way, the day of Nicodemus, who, upon listening to Christ, goes to Christ at night, and he questions, tiptoeing, and he asks Christ, how can one get into the kingdom of heaven? He says, unless you be born again. Circumstances suggest and recommend the best approach. There are times when it is good to be John the Baptist, then you become a martyr. There are times when it is good to be Nicodemus. Circumstances will demand it. The Law Society as a society must always choose when it is good to use the Nicodemus approach or John the Baptist approach. I think there is a time, and including this time, the Law Society became a little lethargic, became a little bit too inward looking into matters of practice. I think the Law Society in a young democracy such as this must, with the firmness that opens the eyes of the administration, always allow its voice to be heard, even when it may not be hearkened to, even in its purest tones. In that regard, I think the Law Society was a little lethargic. I hope that the new administration will be a little bit more active, but not just active for its own sake to show that we are different, but active because we want to improve governance, active because we want to engage government, and active because ultimately we are in one ship. If you put a hole in this ship, whether you are in the first class or the second class or the third class, we sink together. That is what the sinking of the Titanic taught all of us. It matters not in which class you are. When the ship sinks, it sinks with all.
Does Kenya care about this?
Even if they don't care, they should care. Because the Kiswahili saying is, mtego wa panya huingia waliomo na wasiokwemo. Na msemo mwingine, kilichompata ngwena na kiboko ni vivyo.
Prof, we cannot go more than that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. God bless you.
Blessed too. This man, great Prof, that we have been lucky today to have, and privileged indeed to have Professor PLO Lumumba, man of many hearts, a pastor, sounding so. And maybe, are you planning to retire from the legal?
No.
I thought you were gonna go to a bigger call.
I'm 57. I'll be turning 58 later this year, and 58 is the new 23.
Man, will you be able to serve as a bishop next time? You should be serving as a bishop next time after this. Thank you. This is Morning Check. Professor PLO Lumumba has been with us. This is right from his office, and we are great to have had him. Hopefully, Kenyans have learned, because he's just said, even if you do not care, you must care. That means you have no option as a Kenyan. Me and you. Great. Have a good day.